this lecture, we will talk about biodiversity and ecosystem conservation in the frame of Sustainable Development Goal 15, Life on Land. This goal aims to protect, restore and promote sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystems, sustainably manage forests and combat desertification, and halt and reverse land degradation, and halt biodiversity loss, a highly complex goal. Biodiversity is a key concept to understand how the life on our mother planet is organized and how the human society can be supported for a long time. That is the ultimate target of sustainable development. However, biodiversity is still a barely known concept for many citizens and policymakers. The term biodiversity was introduced by Edward Wilson to summarize the diversity of life in all its forms. It refers to the variety and variability of life on Earth and can be measured at the genetic, taxonomic and ecosystem organization levels. The taxonomic level is the simplest way to measure biodiversity at large spatial and temporal scales, and is often addressed in terms of number of species, usually referred as species richness. It is relatively easy to measure the number of species in a site or a region, or the number of species that are threatened or extinct. However, do you know that scientists are still far away from knowing the Earth biodiversity? We do not have yet a complete census of the species living on the planet, and different estimates ranges from 3 to 30 million of species. Widely accepted estimates predict 9 million species. 80% of them are still to be described. Where is biodiversity located? Biodiversity is not evenly distributed on Earth. As a result of geological and evolutionary processes, as well as ecological factors, biodiversity is concentrated in tropical areas, mountains and islands. The areas with higher biodiversity, named biodiversity hotspots, are highly affected by land use and global changes. In a world that is globalized for economy, but not for land and land use policies, we need to develop a global responsibilities to protect biodiversity. When we buy something in Europe, it is likely that we impact some remote ecosystems. Are many species really threatened? Extinction is a natural phenomenon, and most of the species that evolved on Earth do not exist anymore. Many organisms that existed hundreds of millions of years ago faced extinction. Species extinction is a natural phenomenon, and it is also possible to calculate a natural background extinction rate. However, humans have a major role in biodiversity crisis. Human population is growing over all previous limits, using a vast proportion of the planet's resources, transforming and destroying habitats and ecosystems. The growing human population is threatening most of the terrestrial ecosystems and the persistence of biodiversity. The side effect of our growth is the biodiversity erosion. The present rate of species extinctions, as can be calculated from a set of species assessed by IUCN, is at least 1 or 2 orders of magnitude higher than the natural background. We are entering the 6th mass extinction in the history of the planet. A recent study showed that about 3 plant species have gone extinct on Earth every year since the last century, a rate that is 500 times higher than the natural one. A 2019 report by the Intergovernmental Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services estimated that 1 million of species might face extinction in the next decades. If this trend continues, our daughters and sons will see in their lifespan an Earth impoverished of biodiversity and providing less ecosystem services. Are humans really responsible of the loss of biodiversity? The basic driver of this catastrophic scenario is the human appropriation of net primary production, that refers to the amount of primary productivity used by humans and subtracted to the other components of the biosphere. As a simple indicator, a recent study that estimated the partitioning of total biomass on Earth indicated that among mammals, 64% of the total biomass is made up by livestock, 32% is made up by humans, and 4% by all the other 6,000 wild species. The use of resources by humans is leading to the decrease and finally to the extinction of other species. Can we protect ecosystems and biodiversity? We know that nature in general and biodiversity in particular are fundamental for human well-being, and therefore we need to develop strategies that will permit the long-term preservation of biodiversity, that is the survival of the Earth's life. Sustainable Development Goals 15 aims to protect the life on land that is probably one of the more directly impacted by humans' lifestyle. We must quickly develop tools to ensure the conservation, restoration, and sustainable use of terrestrial and inland freshwater ecosystems and their services, in particular forests, wetlands, mountains, and drylands, and promote the implementation of sustainable management of all types of forests, halt deforestation, restore degraded forests, and substantially increase afforestation and reforestation globally. What can we do to preserve ecosystems and biodiversity? We need to change the social and economical models to not need a continuous increase of resource consumption. We need to realize that we share the Earth, the only planet we have, with many other species, and we must give them space to survive. Many extinctions will happen anyway. It is too late to avoid them, but we can minimize the number to leave our sons a planet similar to the one we have received. Do we need more effort in biodiversity conservation? Despite some progresses in forest protection policies and creation of protected areas, the amount of natural forests and other wild ecosystems is still decreasing. We need to reverse the trend now. Preserving the natural component on the Earth's lands is fundamental for sustainable development. The protected areas are the Noah Ark of the Anthropocene. Measuring the amount of terrestrial and inland water areas covered by protected areas is a key number for measuring progresses in sustainable development. The Aichi Target 11 of the Convention on Biological Diversity aims to have 17% of the land covered by well-connected systems of protected areas. We are doing well with protected areas, but we still need to protect more land and to increase the level of protection in many protected areas. Is it enough to create more protected areas? No, it is not. Many protected areas, especially in Europe, all include managed habitats. We need to ensure long-term natural processes, not only the protection of human-derived habitats. We must develop strategies to promote ecosystem restoration and also rewilding process to guarantee the long-term ecological processes. We need to protect natural forests to indefinite growth for the benefit of future generations. We are using tree cover to measure forests at the global scale. But clearly, a plantation or a growth forest are not the same as a natural forest. We need to make differences among types of forests. We can preserve biodiversity in the areas we use, but we need to leave wild land to protect natural processes. Edward Wilson promoted a campaign named Half Earth to guarantee the conservation of 85% of the species living on the planet. His concept is simple: half of the planet for humans and half for the rest of the life on the planet. We are far away from this, but we can use this suggestion to protect more land and preserve biodiversity, ecosystems, and natural processes. The survival of the wonderful life of this planet in the next millennia depends on our present decisions.